Today, we're looking at Codex, the set of tools that OpenAI provides to develop software. The ecosystem is a bit confusing, but in this video, we're going to break it down. We are going to break down the macOS app, the web app, the CLI, the extensions. We're going to see when to use which, what are the pros and cons. And this matters because the role of the software engineer is shifting from writing code to being able to orchestrate, manage agents, and just use the tools that those AI labs provide. By the end of this video, you'll be able to confidently navigate the ecosystem of OpenAI, choose the right tool for the job, and find out if you want to invest more in this ecosystem. So first, we're going to start with the macOS app. This is the macOS app that has been just released, and it's extremely powerful. First, on the left-hand side, you can see all your projects. In this case, I have two projects here, Tumbi and Speakbar, but by clicking this icon, I can add a new project, and I can select either an existing folder that I have, or I could create a new folder and create a new project. Now, in order to develop software in this project, you should start a new thread. And this is the new thread here on the right-hand side. And you can ask Codex to develop feature in this thread. You can attach files, you could select the model, and you could select the reasoning effort. We also have a button to dictate. You could see here full access. Those are the permissions that I have given to that macOS app. So in this case, it has full access to my computer, and you can see the branch that you're on here. Now you notice here local, because you can run the tasks in a local project, in new Worktrees, or in a cloud. And this is a bit more complicated, so I'll explain it in a bit. But first, you could also open the project in Cursor, because the macOS app doesn't give you a very good way to see all your project files right now. I think this is something that they need to improve. But if you click open, I'll open the project in Cursor. But anyways, the macOS app doesn't give you a good way to see the code actually, but you can see the diff from the current feature you're implementing. For example, I can click this thread and you could see clicking here would open the files that have been changed so I can review the code. So they give you a good way to review the code, but they don't give you a good way to see all the project files. You need to open them in a separate folder, which I think is a bit unfortunate. This icon would give me the terminal. You could see I can toggle the terminal on and off. And when we come back to local, cloud, and Worktrees, you'll understand why the macOS app is so good. But basically, it allows you to parallelize execution of agents. This button allows you to easily commit. You could commit and push, commit and create PR. You could see that there's a good integration between the macOS app and GitHub. You could also pin the thread. So if it's something important that you're working on, you can pin it and then it would appear here on the top. You could unpin it and you could manipulate the thread in multiple other ways here. And something very interesting is also automations. You could see that every hour I have scheduled a task to do a bug scan of my project. Of course, this is excessive, but I wanted to test a feature. And you could create a new one, name it, choose the projects where you would like to run the action, and a prompt, which could be look for bugs or check for regressions or run the tests. Then you can schedule when exactly to run those automations. We also have skills. You probably are already familiar with skills. Skills extend the capabilities of the coding model. For example, I have installed the Playwright CLI skill, which enables browser automations. So I can tell Codex, hey, can you open the browser and test my app there? You could have skills to talk to Figma, to GitHub, to generate images. And also there's a very good integration with Linear. I actually wasn't familiar with Linear, but you can create essentially a Kanban board there. You can create all your tasks and then you can make them a to-do. And then the agent can pick those tasks. So it's a way to manage your projects. Now we are coming to the start of the show. When we create a new thread, start a new thread, then we can select to either locally run the thread, to run it in a new Worktrees or in the cloud. So why do we have all those options? If you want to run a single agent and not parallelize your work, then it's almost a no-brainer to use local project and branches. So let's say you have your app here and then you have 3 branches, pink, yellow, and blue, and you implement a different feature on each branch. I'll call them feature 1, feature 2, and feature 3. So when you start working on a feature 1 and you start a coding agent, then this coding agent goes off and executes the task. If you want to work on feature 2 though, you need to wait for the agent to finish feature 1 before you can move to feature 2. So basically the agent that is working on feature 1 is blocking you to work on feature 2 because feature 2 is on another branch. and you can only have one branch active at all times. So this is how you develop locally. You pick a branch, you develop a feature, you wait for the agent to finish. If you want to work on the second feature, you move to another branch, you wait for the agent to finish. But if the agent is taking like 30 or 60 minutes to complete your feature, this workflow blocks you because you may want to work on feature 2, but you can't right now because the agent is busy with feature number 1. Now, this is where Worktrees come in. Now, if you want to parallelize feature 1 and feature 2, you could create a work tree. You could see it here, new work tree. Create a copy of your local project to work in parallel. So basically, we're going to copy this project and we're going to choose that we would like to branch out from feature 2. We're going to have feature 2 in this project here, and we can start one agent in feature 1 in the main directory. And in the copy of the project in the work tree, we can start another agent that is working on feature 2 in parallel. Remember, if we use just branches, we cannot start in parallel at feature 1 and feature 2 because we can have only one branch active. But if we copy the whole project, then we can start one agent in feature 1 and one agent in feature 2. Once the agent is done with the work in work tree, we can take the code and hand it off locally and merge it in any branch we choose. I'm just explaining here the concepts on a high level, but I'm going to release more videos where we actually work through the code and I give examples, and then it will become more clear. So they'll help you be more comfortable in the OpenAI system, in managing agents and preparing for this new world where we don't write code, but we just manage agents. But you see, still there is a bit of complexity. Still, you need to understand concepts. So the job isn't gone. It has just moved one level up. And there's so many things to automate in the world, like so many factories, so many robots that we need to build. This is a new work tree. This is a copy of your local project to work in parallel. And then there's a cloud, work in a cloud environment. Now, in order to work in the cloud, you need to select a cloud environment here. And you could see for this project here, for the first project, I don't have a cloud environment. So I can create a new one and I can click plus. And this basically would create a computer for me in the cloud. And I need to configure this computer. Okay, first I need to select which repository I want. In this case, we would like this repository, and then description, code execution, the container image, environment variables. Now, why this is important? Because if you start spanning so many agents on your computer, they start competing for resources. Outsourcing stuff in the cloud may actually become our default way to develop software. And you could see that in the big companies like Meta, Google, and so on. They have their own cloud environments. They don't develop locally. First, your agents compete for resources, but also you may wipe your whole computer by starting the wrong agent. And if we see this demo here, you can run agents in the cloud in Cursor, but I believe this would come in Codex. And they would complete the tasks, and instead of sending you your code to review, they'll send you a video to review. As you can see, this is an agent that they have started in the cloud, and the agent returns a demo of the feature that they have implemented. OpenAI doesn't provide that yet, but I think it's coming. Basically, you start agents in the cloud. They are sending you back your new design, your new feature implemented in a video format or other artifact, and then you review the artifact and then you ship it. So you don't review code, you review the videos. This was an overview of the macOS app. So when to use the app, if you want to run parallel agents, if you want to run things in the cloud, in Worktrees, if you want to run automations, and if you want a nice user interface. Now we have talked about cloud, and this is where the web app comes in. Through the web app, you could manage your cloud runs and cloud environments. And you could access the Codex Web App by going to ChatGPT, then clicking here the icon and clicking Codex. And this would lead you to the Codex Web App. You have the exact same view here on your phone if you go to the ChatGPT app and click Codex. And the ChatGPT app on the phone gives you access to this cloud. So here, it's very similar to what we have seen on the macOS cloud environment. You can select your environments. You could create, manage your environments. Also, you could run a number of versions for the same task. For example, if you would like to redesign your website, you could write the prompt to redesign the website and then check 4 versions, and Codex would come back with 4 different versions of the redesign and then select the result that you'd like best. So this is the web app. This is not where you would spend most of your time. You'll be using this app in those cases where you have access to your phone only. Yeah, no access to your computer, or you would like to run multiple versions, best of n. This is when you would use the web app. Then we have the CLI and the extension. The Codex CLI you could install and then go to your terminal and click Codex. And this is if you would really like to live in your terminal, or if you're more used to cloud code type of experience. It's mostly for local development. You could also start multiple agents here. So it's a bit less convenient user interface, I would say. So that's when you use the terminal. When you are used to terminal environment, run lots of commands, open multiple of them. And the cool thing about the terminals is that you can really open multiple of them on your screen and see them all at the same time. If you look at the macOS app, you still need to switch between the threads. So there is not a good overview of all the threads that are running at the same time. But if you open like 5 terminals next to each other, for example, those are 2 terminals next to each other. But you could see, I could see my agents running at the same time and how they are executing the work in parallel. If you have multiple monitors, you can open multiple terminals, start multiple agents. In some cases, it's actually a bit easier to manage multiple agents with the terminal. And the last thing that I want to share is the extension. So if you open Cursor, for example, you can go to Settings, Extensions. You could search for the Codex extension and install it. But writing code and the IDE in this form where you look at a lot of code is, I think, declining in usage. But if you're used to IDE, this is how you can install Codex. You could go to the extensions, install it, and then let it help you do some work. So you would use the extension if you write code in IDE. This was an overview of the Codex ecosystem. We have the macOS app, the web app, the CLI, and the extension. I want to record this video as a foundation and a baseline for the future videos that I'll be recording on the Codex ecosystem. And in the next videos, we'll have practical examples and we'll dive into each of those tools to develop projects with them, have examples, and learn how this new way of developing software works. So if you're learning to code or want to stay up to date on the OpenAI ecosystem, I'll be posting videos on those topics.